and welcome to another segment of Motivational Mondays with Donna. This week, I'd like to speak on the topic of trouble is transportation. Now, what I mean by that is sometimes when we make poor choices or bad things happen to us and it just doesn't make sense, we don't understand, that is God actually directing our steps into success and abundance. Let me give you a couple of examples. In the Bible, everybody knows the story of Joseph. And, Joseph had that dream when he was 17 years old, and God told him that he was going to be a high ranking official and that people would be bowing down to him. But it took 13 years for that to happen. And in the process of those 13 years, Joseph had a lot of trouble. But he kept an excellent attitude throughout the whole thing. We know that he was thrown into a pit. His brothers sold him off to the Egyptians in a caravan. He went to Pharaoh's place. Pharaoh's wife had an eye for him and wanted to sleep with him. He ran from her and she accused him of trying to be able to sleep with her. Pharaoh threw him in prison. He made friends with a couple of people in there, and then the cupbearer finally got released. And when he got released, he promised he would let Pharaoh know about Joseph and the way he could interpret dreams. And nobody did anything. And because of that, Joseph stayed there for quite a while until the Pharaoh had a troubling dream. And finally, that's when the cupbearer remembered. And Pharaoh called for him. He was able to interpret the dream. And then he stepped into the magnitude that God had for him. But all of that trouble led up to his transportation to become second in command behind Pharaoh. Now, there's a wonderful story of a gentleman by the name of Salvatore Sabina. And Salvatore, by the time he was 11 years of age, had already witnessed 4 murders. He was born and raised in the Dominican Republic, and he came to America when he was 13 years of age. Unfortunately, he started hanging out with the wrong crowds and the wrong people, and that got him into a lot of trouble. Where he was dealing drugs, he was robbing people, fighting, all those kind of things. And soon enough, it got him locked up. And not for some small charges. We're talking about armed robbery and drug possession. But this was his transportation to get to where God needed him to be. Because once he was in jail for a period of time and started to get his life in order, call out to God, read the Bible, all of those things. Now, he has turned his life around, and this was a blessing in disguise. All the trouble that he got himself into with his poor choices. Because, now he is actually the pastor of the Heavenly Vision Christian Church in Bronx, in New York. He's married and he has 2 children. So sometimes trouble is transportation. Watch your choices that you make, but if things befall you, realize that God is ordering your steps, and these things that's happening are bringing you to a higher level and where He wants you to be. Now, we always end our segments on gratitude. And well known, Victor Hugo. He was a French romantic writer and a politician. During the literary career that he had that spanned over 60 years. He wrote in a variety of genres and different forms, and he is actually considered to be one of the greatest French writers of all time. And he had this to say on gratitude: be grateful in your own hearts. That suffices thanksgiving, has wings, and flies to its right destination. That's just so poetic and so beautiful. So remember, trouble is transportation, and God is there directing you to the higher level He has for you and the abundance He has for you. And remember, always have gratitude. It will make your life soar. Have a great week, guys. Talk to you next week.